Welcome everyone to the Melanated Roots Radio Show, brought to you by the Black Talk Radio Network. Today is Monday, June 11th, 2018, and we have a live show for you this evening. Your host for the show is Brother Tommy and Brother Rio, and our topic for today is we're going to cover a couple different things, but we're going to start out with in loco parentis, or also referred to as parens patria. Basically, we're going to be discussing how we are giving our children over to the state in many different ways without us knowing. And we are going to discuss that on the first hour. We're going to have a really good interview with a brother out of North Carolina who is basically being used and abused by the probate family court system. And we're going to show you how when you give over power to the system, they make sure they take control. Also, in the second hour, we're going to deal with DARPA, D-A-R-P-A, in different projects that they are working on. And it's just stuff that you won't believe. We think that a lot of the technology we see in the movies is just for the movie. But we're going to show you this evening that it's not just entertainment at all. This stuff is actually moving forward. If you would like to ask a question or share some information on this topic, please call 704-802-5056. That is 704-802-5056, and hit **, and we'll see that you've unmuted yourself, and we'll bring you on for your questions or comments. Also, we ask that you please join the BTR community for $24 per year. That is a way to support the platform, and so it can continue to thrive and expand and continue to bring classes, information to you that would be beneficial. So please give some of your financial energy to support the network, and we can continue to move this platform forward. How you doing this evening, Brother Rio?
I'm doing pretty good, brother. How you feeling?
Man, doing real good. What's up with you?
I had a good weekend, man. You know, it was a little rainy, but I got to beat up on a good friend of mine and on the tennis court, this weekend. So that was a plus. I had fun, had a ball, and I'm still just a newbie. So
what if your friend
my royal oats on the tennis court? So
what if your friend sees it a different way?
I don't see how he could, because he pretty much got whacked.
Okay. But, I hear you. What's on your mind?
Well, brother, I'm actually on the phone with our guest, and I'm trying to get him signed into the room. So I'm communicating with him on the other line and via text. Can you give me a second to try to get him squared away?
Yeah, absolutely. Do what you got to do. We're for a short minute. We're going to interview a brother that we want to. We feel that it's going to be some pertinent information that he's going to give out, and it's going to go along with our topic of parens patria, or another word that they call it is loco in parentis. And let me read a little information to you to give you some background, so we can tell you what is really going on. So we know that you have the breakdown of the family, or the breakdown of the tribe. That's really what's going on. They're making sure that the family remains broken, the melanated family remains broken, and the tribe is separated and broken down. And with the surrender of the mind to external control, willpower is soon to follow. So our mind is being pulled in many different directions with all this noise around us. And we are in our willpower to be able to stand strong, to do what's right for ourselves, to be self-determining, is falling, because with no mind power or willpower to individuate and discover our true self, we the people become totally dependent upon indoctrinated dogma and belief systems where we are taught and conditioned to believe certain things. And one thing that we believe is that marriage and marriage license through the state is a way to show your woman you love her, you care about her, you want to be with her, and this is how you step up and be a man. But we're about to show you how these concepts basically enslave us and give over control, because the marriage license is a three-way contract with the state and is based upon an old property law. In the patriarchal society, the man owned his seed and the eggs of the female were considered property. If a man and a woman decide to get married, they needed the consent of the father who gave his daughter away. If the father didn't consent, they might elope, but without the consent of the father, the property didn't convey. So this concept of being married and being married in the eyes of the law leads to local parentis or local in parentis or parens patria. And in the American system, the doctrine of parens patria confirms the state is the legal parent, and the children produced from a state licensed marriage are the property and chattel of the state. Following old property law, if you are a chattel or the property of the state, then you need the consent of the state, i.e. the father, to get married, evidenced by the marriage license, and any property derived from the marriage, i.e. the children as well, also belong to the state. So that is what we're dealing with here. So the goals of the new order, the power structure, the global elite, is to break down the family and the family tribe. And me and Brother Rio strongly feel that the interview that we're about to have in conversation with this good brother out of the state of North Carolina, that's as specific as we're going to get, is going to show you how the state basically can control and decide what it wants. Are you feeling me, Brother Rio?
Yes, sir, Brother Tommy. And whenever we are ready, our guest has arrived. But that was a very good breakdown that you just gave, brother, because the plan is to most definitely break up the black family, because they do recognize that is our most powerful source.
Yes, sir. Is
our love and our willingness to do for each other, and how we, number one, express that through our immediate families, and then we extend that to our extended families within the community. And even to colonizers who came over here and was getting towed up with slavery and everything. We helped them to get free, and then, we see how that love just wasn't returned to us. But, at our core, we are just good-natured, loving people.
Absolutely. But we're good-natured, loving people that's going to have to wake up, because you just cannot be good-natured and loving with everybody, because they've created a social construct called race. And based upon this social construct, it is tearing people up. And when we think that we can be loving and kind like we are amongst each other towards others that don't have our best interests at heart, then we put ourselves in a really tough situation, Brother Rio.
I agree, brother. I agree. And, we definitely we're going to have to come up with some solutions to overcome the numerous strategies that have been enacted upon us to keep us apart,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Ideally getting, first and foremost, the father out of the house, and subjecting the mother to social reform and programs such as welfare and other programs that would eventually lead her to believe, I don't need a man economically.
Right.
So, those are just some of the things that we do have to overcome, and some of the lessons that have been taught, not necessarily through preaching, but just through life experiences.
Absolutely. Brother Rio, let me read a little more information before we go to our interview for this evening. And I know you got some information you want to share, but what it says right here is that when the family is breaking down, the state becomes the new and improved parent. The state imposes controls over the raising of the children through public education, public health agencies, and the Department of Human Resources. Thus, the state dominates the biological parent in influencing and controlling the child until they are of legal age. The state decides what is taught in the public schools. The state decides what the child will learn and what career track they'll be on. The state decides what is appropriate social behavior and what is politically correct. The state decides and defines abuse and what is appropriate affection or discipline in the family. All this power in the hands of the state further alienates the children from their biological parents, who are left as nothing more than custodians of state property. And I'm going to break this one thing down here, Brother Real. Yeah, the biological parents are powerless. Haven't you as a parent ever felt that your children were out of your hands? Read the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child, and you'll get a sense of what's on the horizon for parental rights in the near future. In traditional tribal systems where families and communities are too strongly bonded to be broken or replaced by the state, the parents can be indoctrinated by old-time religion, programmed by the educational system, or influenced by the media to get behind the state's agenda and become the politically correct, socially acceptable manipulators of the children. I ain't gonna go too much further, Brother Real. I know you got a little information to bring, and we're gonna bring our guest on and talk about this conversation, because what he has to say definitely needs to be heard.
Yes, sir. I can definitely clean that up on the back end. But that's powerful information, man. If the people are hearing what you're actually saying, especially they are, basically they're saying that they're going to shape the child's reality. Yes. And if the family doesn't conform to what the state feels is correct behavior, then they're going to intervene. They're just going to step in and, they're going to enforce their will for the purposes of that child using its energy to support a system which we already recognize is oppressing us, and is also going to oppress that child.
Absolutely. So,
and then some of the effects that we see, we hear about it. We talk about it, Brother Tommy. But, I believe that real life experiences and how these strategies kind of manifest in people's everyday lives is valuable for the family to hear. Everybody's got a different experience, but I believe it's easier to relate, to people who are actually going through those experiences. So, we have on call tonight.
Hold on, Brother Real. Let me throw one more thing on there before you go into that.
Okay.
We have to understand what the word registered mean. I wanted to at least throw that out. When you register your child for school, you register your vehicle at the county, you are surrendering something. You are giving up something. That's what the word register means. So come register your children for school. So to register something, like if you take your car and register it with the state, you are giving over legal title to the state, and the state is allowing you to have equitable title. You can do whatever you want to do with it, but they are the true owners of that vehicle because you have registered it with them and you have surrendered a portion to it. And so that's the same thing with your children. These marriage license, these things that we find ourselves involved in, registering our kids in school, we are giving over parental rights of our children to the state. And once we do that, the state will rule
over your family and your household. Yes, sir.
Yes, they will.
And it contributes a lot to the things that we have to endure as a people, especially when the family unit is breaking down and, the parents can't seem to come to, an agreement. That's when the state steps in as a third-party intervener, and they feel like they're gonna have to handle things. So we are subjecting each other to these atrocities in a sense. We're signing up for them to pretty much govern and come in and referee how things are going to be, quote unquote, equitably split or set up.
Sir.
So, brother, you got anything else to add on that?
No, let's move forward, bro.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, well, at this time we're going to bring on Brother Andre.
I'm gonna unmute him right now. I just unmuted Brother Andre. Good evening, Brother Andre.
Hey, good evening. How you guys doing tonight?
Doing great. Go ahead, Brother Rio.
Oh, I'm doing. Oh, brother Andre, it's good to have you on. And we just wanted, we spoke briefly last week, and we felt it was important for you to kind of share your experiences that you're having, the struggles that you're going through with the legal system and your situation. And we thought it was something that the family would be able to benefit from. So I'll go ahead and let you kind of set it up, and then I might ask you a few questions, and I'm sure Brother Tommy may have some questions as well.
Okay.
Just feel free to talk openly, and you're amongst friends.
Yes. Okay. So, my story is something that could be a Stephen King horror film. All right. Never in a million years would I imagine the system is this messed up. So let me kind of give you a backstory. I was stationed down here in North Carolina at Fort Bragg, and once I got out the military, I went back home to New York. I was never married to my children's mother. There was a lot of signs of neglect and things going on that just wasn't kosher. So I filed for custody. Now, when I filed for custody, the court was giving me a hard time because I wasn't living down here in North Carolina. So I uprooted. I moved down here to North Carolina and continued my custody battle. Now, dealing with the court system was never about what's in the best interest of the children. It was always about trying to make me, as a black father, seem inadequate. Okay, from bringing up that I'm a disabled veteran, from bringing up that PTSD with no criminal record. Okay, but that's what the court wanted to stress on. Now, typically when you're a white veteran, you get thank you for your service. Now, here I am, no criminal record, disabled vet, and the court wants to stress about PTSD, question me about deployments and things of that nature that had nothing to do with me caring for my children. So 4 attorneys later and a little over $100,000 later, wiping out my whole 401k, I finally had received custody of my kids. But it was still not a good custody order, meaning mom still had a lot of visitation and her environment hadn't changed. Okay, so about 7 months ago, my children's, one of the doctors had contacted DSS about some concerns from what my children were telling her when they were at mom's home.
Hold on, Brother Andre. Brother Andre,
yeah.
Are you speaking on away from the phone? Is there a way we can adjust your mic? I want, we can hear you, but it's still a little muffled. I want to make sure we hear you extremely clearly for the family out there.
All right. Okay, is that any better?
Oh, perfect, my brother.
Okay, great. All right, so did you guys get the beginning? What I was speaking about? Yeah,
you're okay. We got you.
Okay. All right, cool. So about 7 months ago, DSS had become involved. Now, all the reports to DSS, none of them were about my home or about me. Now, only issue I had with DSS was that reports have been made several times, and, for lack of a better word, they didn't really do a proper investigation. So this is the same thing that was going on now. And I'm not going to get into detail, but when I'm talking about the environment, it was severe neglect. It wasn't just, a dirty house. It was a lot more to it that affects today the mental health of my daughter. Okay? Mm-hmm. So every time I communicated with DSS to make sure they were doing what they're supposed to be doing, they weren't doing it. And it got to the point where they were trying to paint me as this, militant, rebellious man. And point I said, look, you guys aren't scared of me because of my size, that you guys are trying to paint that picture. You guys are scared of me and fear me because I'm a assertive black man who is fighting for his kids and is always going to protect his children. And to my surprise, the lady said yes. I think it caught her off guard, but she went and said yes. And I was like, whoa, this is really crazy. Mm-hmm. So, like I said, none of the issues were concerning me as far as my home, besides the mother saying that, trying to, say negative things about me, this and that. And the mom, after seeing she wasn't going to get custody, she also stated throughout the record, when I'm reviewing the records from DSS, that she prefers my kids be in foster care than be with me. Mm. Okay, so this is like telling the slave master, take my kids, I'm happy. okay, and they ran with it. So this is going on throughout the records, this and that. I'm reading all this stuff, and this is stuff that's been said from the mother verbatim. So now, when DSS tries to remove children, they have to follow policies and procedures that are clearly outlined in the policies and the regulations. Now, one thing DSS didn't realize as well is my wife works for DSS in a different county. Okay, so once they found that out, they were trying to, backtrack and do damage control. So basically, what took place was I called the local state politicians on DSS about the lack of their investigation, and still the lackluster investigation would still put my kids in a risk. So they started getting upset, DSS leadership, that the state was calling to check on them. Okay, so my kids were removed from me on a Wednesday. That Monday, I had a conversation with the program manager who stated, no, there's no way your children could be removed from you because you're not the concern. You're a great father. Blah 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 blah. Mm-hmm. Now, mind you, every conversation I had with these people, I recorded it. So going forward, 2 days later, I'm the last person to find out. I'm getting calls from neighbors telling me that the police are knocking on my door, knocking on their doors, as if they're looking for a fugitive. Okay? So I called DSS when I got down to my attorney's office and asked them what's going on. Because at that point I knew they were looking for me, but I wasn't just going to, blindly bring my kids to them. So from my attorney's office, I called them and asked them what was going on. Now, they stated they had filed a petition to remove my children. Now, mind you, the stuff that was going on was not in my home. Okay? Mm. So apparently they just felt like they could skip all the steps. And what they were hoping for, anticipating, was that I was going to fight. When I say fight, I'm saying physically when they try to remove my kids. So that way they could say, well, look, he's crazy. Because this came from inside, from someone inside who was seeing the injustice, who advised me they were upset that I didn't go crazy, that I didn't get into it with the police officers. Okay? So now backtracking, they're supposed to have what's called a CFT before they remove your children. And that's a meeting between you and the agency to get to figure out, what's the issue, what they want you to do, X, Y, Z. Mm-hmm. That never happened. Then the case was supposed to go to in-home services. It never happened. Mm-hmm. So after the fact, when I went to my first initial 3-day hearing at court, I asked the judge to have that meeting, to backtrack and have those meetings. So we met, and the woman that said to me that my kids wouldn't be removed for me, that I wasn't the issue, she stated in the meeting that there was new information. So I said, hold on, if there was new information, what's the new case number? Mm-hmm. So then she said, well, started stuttering, I'm not sure. So then she tried to pass the buck to another social worker in there, and the social worker said there was never no new information on record. This is in official documents now, saying there was never no new information. Okay, so then the lady started backtrack, and I said to her, look, you said to me that X, Y, Z, and she said, no, I never said that. So I said, should I start playing the recording now, or should I play it in court? So then she backtracked, and got all of a sudden she got, her memory came back to her, and she confirmed she said that. So after leaving this meeting, it was still really unknown why my children were removed. So we had another meeting, okay? And on the official documents, leaving the other meeting, it states on the documents, reason unknown why children were removed from their father's home since there was never any safety concerns with father. Mm. Okay, this is the agency putting this in black and white.
So,
okay?
Brother Andre.
Never. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Do you think that the strategy that they're employing on you, do you think your diagnosis had anything to do with it? I mean, because it seems like they're trying to get some kind of reaction out of you that is going to work against you.
So I feel like that was, at one point, that was one of the angles. Mm-hmm. Also the fact that, I'm not a small person. And then, being a brother with a deep voice, not being, some, soft-spoken brother. and being direct to the point. That also was an issue for them.
Mm-hmm.
Also, a brother that was actually having a brain and calling them out on what they're doing was an issue for them. Mm-hmm. So to trump all their nonsense about PTSD and this and that, my therapist that I actively see wrote a 3-page letter to them, to the agency, basically telling them that they're trash, okay, mm-hmm. and that I'm a stand-up person even within my community, that I run a lot of different father programs in the community to get dads to be actively involved with their children. So basically told them, don't you dare use PTSD against them unless you guys want to go to combat and come back and tell me how you are.
Well, let me ask you a question,
okay.
Brother Andre. Quick question.
Yes.
When did you go into combat, and when did they label you as PTSD?
So I was deployed in 2004 to Afghanistan. In 2004, also before that, I was in Afghanistan in 2002. While in service, I never really had a diagnosis because for most part, you don't want to get a diagnosis in service. Because it kind of, it's going to mess up your promotions, things of that nature, at least at that time. So not until about 2007, 2008 was I diagnosed with PTSD. Okay. And, PTSD, no matter what, what people want to say, it doesn't give you an excuse to act crazy. It doesn't mean you're going to act crazy. I know what my triggers are, so I know how to prevent my triggers. Mm-hmm. Okay, but that's a whole different topic. But I've had my brain mapped where it shows the areas that were affected. Okay, mm-hmm. So it's a complicated thing, but it's also if you want to wear that title or if you want to just be someone's productive. So that wasn't going to be my thing to wear a title to walk around like I can't do anything for myself, right? Mm-hmm. So those tactics basically didn't work. So now, again, here we are today, and the agency is scrambling on which way to go, okay? Because when I went to the first court hearing, I got a discovery from them, and discovery is 1,800 pages. My wife and I read through the whole entire discovery in one weekend to find out that a lot of information is missing from the records. Conversations that took place, it wasn't noted in the record. Documents I provided were not included in the records. So when that was brought up with the director of the facility, she was very nasty and said that there's no way that I had access to these records. I said, look, I'm not going to sit here and debate with you, but I have the records, and it's not accurate. Mm-hmm. And it's also not only that's not accurate, it's fraudulent. And things were taken out. And I could only say they're taken out purposely. So she said that she would get back to me. Okay. The next day was a Tuesday. Next thing you know, my attorney gets an email from the agency's attorney stating for me not to call anybody in leadership. Okay. That they don't want me calling leadership. And I just need to talk to the, frontline workers. Now, we all know our rights. I have the right to call the state if I want to. I have the right to speak to the director if I want to. I'm not going through a middle person. Mm-hmm. But this is all about them still not trying to furnish the records. So at this point, I have a hearing on Thursday where, from my understanding, the agency is requesting my children be returned home. But my point is they never wanted to send them home right away when they acknowledged that what they did was incorrect for liability reasons. Because they know they violated my 4th, my 5th, my 14th Amendment, as well as my children's civil rights. Okay? Mm-hmm. So this is basically, to me, equates as kidnapping and trafficking of children. Because you're taking children away from a home that's stable. And let me backtrack. When they took my kids, it was such a shock that my kid's school principal called them and said, what the hell is going on? Okay. Mm-hmm. Now, here we are, and they know they did wrong, but they want to try to act like they didn't do wrong, and they'll go to any degree to try to switch the picture around and make it seem like, well, it wasn't his home, but he's he's very aggressive. Now, what is
Brother
it?
Andre?
Sorry. Yes.
I just want to interject a question.
Yeah.
What is the makeup of the people that you're dealing with at these agencies, and the agencies that are dealing with your children? I mean, are we talking about predominantly male or female, or are they a certain persuasion? Can you give us some information of the people that you're actually dealing with?
So we're talking all about all females. As far as the females demographics, 2 of them were black, and the rest are white, and the entire leadership and chain of command is Caucasian. Okay, and that made me think of something as well. So again, I provided my kids are 11 years old now. From the day they were born, I provided health care and insurance and things for them, right? So what does that mean for DSS? That means more money for them, more benefits for them when a new budget comes out for them. But why would they place children on Medicaid when they already have primary and secondary insurance provided by the parent?
Brother Andre, let me ask you a question. So tell me about the mother of your child. Is she stable? What's the level of relationship you have with her? Were you and her able to talk to where y'all could make decisions of what was best for the child?
No, that let me put it like this, okay? With as far as stability, it's dealing with someone that is, again, I was never married to her, was never in a serious relationship, but I was always made sure that I was taking care of my responsibilities. Trying to communicate with her has always been a nightmare. From trying to make parental agreements on our own and keep out of court, to medical concerns, any type of concern you could think of has always been an issue. And it really is a parent that you're dealing with that doesn't mind the children being affected as long as it could get back to the father. Because for any mother to say they prefer their children in foster care, that alone tells you something's not right.
Right. Absolutely.
So
do you feel like the system was manipulating her, using her against you?
No, not at all. I think the system was happy to find a mother like her, or I should say a parent like her who was not going to advocate for their kids. So it was like, okay, quick, we can swoop these kids up real quick because this person's not going to fight with us because this person now knows that as far as court custody arena, she was not awarded custody. So it was almost like a planned retaliation, even though, keep in mind, all the reports that were made were not involving me. They were involving the mother. But the focus shifted to me and my background and who I am and things of that nature. Okay? Now, you're talking about someone who has no criminal record, someone who held the government clearance while on active duty. Okay, someone who operates their own business, someone who has their own home for their kids, someone who pays their bills, who doesn't get any assistance from the government, nothing of that nature. But they wanted to paint me as this, militant, crazy veteran walking around, black veteran walking around that could snap at any moment. And and I spoke to one of the people in state today. I said, let me tell you something. At the end of the day, you guys could try to use my children as pawns because at this current moment they're with my parents. So I said, I know they're good. So at the end of the day, you devils are going to be held accountable. So if you want to continue to use my children as pawns, just remember how the lawsuit is going to be. Because at this point, again, you stated you have no known reasons why my children were removed from a safe environment. So I said to them, if you think I'm a tap dance for you guys and bow down to you, that's not going to happen.
Andre,
but I said you guys will. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah. Did they do anything to try to keep the situation intact, to say, okay, well, it is in the best interest of the child to be with their father, their mother, or their father in a loving, kind home? Do you think they made any effort to try to keep them with their father, someone who was responsible and loving, or were they literally just looking to separate the children from their father straight up?
No, they wanted
to. Hold on, I'm sorry, Andre. And to piggyback on what Brother Tommy was asking you, I was wondering if you noticed a difference in the treatment that you got from the Caucasian agency workers as opposed to the workers who had the same complexion as you. Was there any difference in their treatment?
That's a good question. So I would say with the leadership, like I said, most of the leadership is of Caucasian race. Now there was 2 black workers I was dealing with. Now one of them, she's mentally enslaved. So I would say it was almost dealing with them or even worse. You ever see that movie Django?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Django Unchained. It was like dealing with Samuel L. Jackson in that movie with this particular worker, and that's the particular worker who was not putting the documents I was providing her in the file, and now has left the agency. So they're trying to play a game. Well, she's no longer with us. Now my thing was, she had a supervisor, right? Mm-hmm. And the supervisor had a supervisor. So where's the chain of command going? But to answer the question, do I feel like that was their agenda? Absolutely, that was their agenda. 100% that was their agenda. And as soon as the mom made the comments that she made, to them it was like free reign. Okay? Because, again, they skipped over several steps that were supposed to that by protocol are supposed to take place first. Now, one of the steps are, like I said, a CFT, where you're supposed to meet with the department and the family. They tried to say that, well, they were concerned that it could be a safety issue, and due to my schedule, I couldn't meet with them until after 5 p.m. Now, they're supposed to accommodate the family for this meeting. Their issue was there's no law enforcement in the building after 5 p.m. So that's why they said they skipped over that. Now, when you look at the state policy for holding a CFT, it addresses in the documentation, if you feel that there's any type of safety risk, you are able to make alternative arrangements to do the meeting over the phone. Mm-hmm. Okay, so another thing I definitely want brothers to understand, it's easy for the system, them or whoever you want to call it, to try to paint us as angry or aggressive or they're fearful. Okay. Mm-hmm. Now you're talking about a brother who every time I go to court in a suit, every time they see me business casual, okay, I'm in the barbershop once a week. Okay, so it's nothing that should come off to them again without a criminal record that they should feel a safety issue. Okay. Mm-hmm. Now it's almost like the same thing with the Second Amendment. A white man can walk around with a gun open. Now you and I walk around with a gun open, the police are going to be called right away. Immediately. And I carry, and I always have some, one firearm with me at least in my vehicle. But I also make sure I have a 360 dash cam. And even going with that, just how things are, I make sure my wallet is on the dash as well. Mm-hmm. Because we have to take these preventive measures because it's so easy for them to manipulate the system and the situation to make us seem like we're the aggressor. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Brother Andre, let me ask you another question. So let's tell me how you felt when these people are asserting certain levels of rights over your children, telling you what they're going to do with your children and being able to take them out of the home based upon their own. Tell me how you felt. Did you feel hopeless, helpless, like you weren't in control? Tell me how you was emotionally feeling
when these people are dictating what is going to happen with your children?
Well, it's a good question. A lot of different emotions were running through my head. Some good, some not good. You know, to feel that, you know, first of all, for you to be a father who provides for your children and always place your children's needs before yours, and then all of a sudden for this to happen, it was definitely not a good feeling. But one thing I had to keep in mind, was my children. Mm-hmm. So, you know, it's almost like I saw somebody the other day. They asked me how I'm doing, and I kind of at first like didn't really understand what they were saying. And I said, "What do you mean?" They said, "Well, everything you got going on." I said, "Well, mentally, I'd put myself back in the combat zone, but now I can't fight with a weapon. I got to fight with my mind." Mm-hmm. But that's the mentality I put myself back into, because I know there's obstacles, there's grenades, there are IEDs everywhere I'm walking with these people. Because I know their ultimate goal is to have my kids in the system. But as far as, you know, being a father or parent, you know, who has always been there for their children, it's the worst feeling you could feel. You know, because you're trying to make sense of it for your children. You know, initially they didn't even try to do kinship. They were just trying to put them with some strangers. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, oh hell no, you're not putting them with any strangers. And my daughter said, 11 years old, if they put me with some strangers, I'm gonna kill myself. Mm. Do they care? No, they didn't care. Okay, so that's why when I left my attorney's office, I drove straight to my parents' house and said, here, my kids are here at my parents' house, so you guys can send somebody over here. But they're not going to any strangers. And now, you know, that's a law from 1996 when the foster care or DSS reform, where it stated that anytime children go into foster care, you must seek kinship first. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Brother. Go ahead, brother.
Yes.
Brother Andre, we have some brothers that have a question for you or a comment. Are you ready to engage with the family?
Yes, no doubt.
Brother Thomas, out of NYC, what's going on this evening, my brother?
It's my home.
Peace, brother. I would say, man, go to come back to me, but go to 262 first, because he has some experience with that.
Okay, 262. Go ahead and where's 262 at? Area code 262. Is that Musaddiq?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Good evening, my brother. Go and bring you enlightenment to this evening.
Greetings. Peace. Yeah, I got some experience with that. I just experienced it about 6 months ago, yo, and it was, oh my God, it's bringing back mad memories right now just listening to the brother, you know. Mm-hmm. And man, I mean, my experience was I had no familiarity with the son was at. I had just dropped him off. Maybe I kept him for the summer of last year, and you know, I got ready to take him back to his mother. His mother stays in the Carolinas, North Carolina, and she was staying in this little town. It's called Kinston, and so I dropped him off, and you know, with his clothes and everything for the remainder of the year or whatever. And about maybe a month, not even a month, I'd say about 3 weeks later, his grandmother calls me and talking about she got the kids took. And I'm like, got the kids took? Because I only have one child by this woman. Mm-hmm. So it's like, I'm like, you got the kids? So what's going on? So couldn't nobody tell me nothing. So I just immediately jumped into, you know, panic mode, and I left Wisconsin, because that's where I'm at. Mm-hmm. I left Wisconsin, and I headed to North Carolina. It took me I think I got down there in about 17 hours. And I got there, and the DSS office was closed. And I couldn't get in contact with anybody other than the grandmother. She couldn't tell me too much. So I kept poking around, and I ended up getting a emergency number. And they told me that they had my son or whatever, and that somebody would be contacting me before 48 hours or something. So keep in mind, this was a Friday when I got there, and so I had to sit all weekend. Now keep in mind, they gave permission for the grandfather or the grandmother to go get them, but neither one of them stepped up to the plate to go get my son. So I'm freaking out. I'm in this strange area. I'm staying in a hotel by myself. I'm thinking about, like, all the what ifs. You know, like, man, you know, my little man is only 2 years old. So I'm like, you know, he's very impressionable, and you know, you just, oh man, it was wild. So,
Brother Mustard D.
Yes.
Just a quick question. Do you happen to have joint custody, or does she have custody, or
at the time
what kind of arrangement you guys have?
At the time we had what was called joint placement, because I had him so many days out the month, which equal to the same amount of time her having him 5 days.
Okay.
But what happened was she jumped up and left Wisconsin and went to North Carolina, which really put her in the bogus. But I was trying to deal with the situation as comfortably as possible for my son. So I finally got up with her. Like I said, I got my son all summer. I had him all summer, and everything was cool. Everything was fine. And I dropped him off in September, and it wasn't even the middle of October before I got a phone call from the grandmother talking about, you got to go get him, and I'm like, well, where is he?
So,
I didn't even know where to start.
So
I'd never been through this.
What was that?
I had heard about people. I heard about different brothers getting their kids took while they was on lockdown and stuff like that. So I was just, all that was running through my mind. So I'm like, man, I got to go get him. So when I got down there, that's when the adventure started for me. They wouldn't let me. The social worker who I initially got up with, or the DSS worker rather, that I got up with initially, she really plugged me in. You know, it was a sister. She was real helpful, but she had to follow some rules too, because they had him like way out. He was staying with some white folks, man. You know, not that I got nothing against them or nothing like that, but they don't rock like I rock. You know, and so that had me terrified. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh my God.
Hey, brother, I just want to interrupt real quick too, from what you're saying, right? So this is the whole thing about us not knowing our rights as well, because as soon as the case was opened against your kid's mother, even though you were in Wisconsin, they are mandated by the law to contact you to let you know XYZ is going on with your kid, even though it's another state.
Right. But they did. They violated all type of. Man, I'm telling you, they was bogus. They was super bogus.
Yeah.
They were super bogus, because it was Monday before I even saw him, and the grandparents could have got him that Friday. You know, so my son was in the system for like maybe 6 or 7 days. Well, because let's say she called me on a Wednesday when they initially got apprehended, and it was the next Wednesday before I got him in my custody. So yeah, he was with them. He was with that family for about 5 days, 4 or 5 days. His older brother with him, but still, you know, his older brother is only 7. So it's like, I mean, come on.
So, brother Musaddiq, I'm gonna ask you the same question that I asked brother.
Like I said, they made me go to, I had to go to court, and they would just ask, see if I was responsible enough to take care of them, how much money I make a year, all this type of stuff. It was basically like a hearing, and would I let, would I ever let her be alone with him? It was all this, just a whole bunch of mess, man, that I was thrown into. Basically like overnight. I got a phone call. I had to hit the road, man. I was down there. I had minimal resources. I had almost exhausted all my resources sitting down there in a hotel for 7 days at $90 a pop.
Right.
Which I got no help from except for, my boss. He looked right out. He told me to go get he wired me some cash, and, I maintained off of that until I got him, and, I shot my butt up out of North Carolina back to Wisconsin with him, and he's been back here with me ever since, and it's been pretty smooth. He was I could tell he was a little shaken up, man, because he wasn't the happy little camper that I left him.
Right.
You know, that I left, you know, down there initially. You know, when he came back, he was kind of, you know, like reluctant, like, oh, you know, I know Daddy, then that's about it. So he real clingy. He was real clingy to me. You know, and I'm just like, man, you know, I was just so upset with her for putting herself in that situation.
Right.
I was upset with me because I couldn't peep it, what was going on, because, you know, I can't see through walls. I can't see the future. So it's like, it was just a real hard situation to deal with your child being in somebody else's hands. That is terrifying.
Yes.
You know,
I know. I want to commend both of you brothers because of, you know, your fortitude. I mean, in diligence in going to seeking out the care of your children. You know, not everyone would do that. You know, so I just want to make sure that you gentlemen know that, you know, that's some very upstanding stuff right there. You know,
absolutely.
And it's definitely great examples within our community.
Yeah, I'm Brother Musaddiq real fast, and then Brother Andre, we're gonna let you. I want to hear some more of your story, Brother Musaddiq. Tell me how you was feeling when these people had custody of your child. Was you feeling out of control? Was you feeling like somebody else had control that you should have had as the father? You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
You was helpless.
Absolutely. I felt that, and then some, because of the fact that nobody contacted me from the DSS office or anything like that. It wasn't even like they even tried to get in contact with me. And I was down there and I was leaving messages after message. Like I said, I started with the emergency worker, which was like patching information to whoever, and they basically let me know that they did have them and somebody would be in contact with me. But I believe it was Sunday before that worker got in contact with me, and then that Monday was when the office opened, and I was right down there at 7 o'clock. The office didn't open to 8. I'm sitting in the line. I'm just thinking about my next move, and, you know, it was so hard because I didn't have nobody to express this to. I'm by myself. Mm-hmm. I didn't have no woman with me. You know what I mean? I'm solo dolo, you know, and so I'm just everything is just replaying in my mind like the last time I dropped him off, and, you know, just everything. I'm just looking at the pictures that I took with him before I, you know, gave him back to his mom's, and, you know, I'm just going over that and just, man, I'm just like trying to maintain, and, you know, I couldn't even hardly eat, man. You know what I'm saying? It was just real hard. All I did was sit in that hotel room and think about my son and what I was going to do when I got him back, because I knew they had to give him back because, you know, we had the joint placement already in place, but she fled, so I didn't know how that was going to turn out. You know.
So, Mr. D, do you have full custody now?
Oh yes. Yeah. He's here right now.
Okay.
So I got some questions for both brothers, if I can.
Go ahead, Brother Thomas.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, was your son born in Wisconsin or in North Carolina?
He was born in Wisconsin.
And the other brother, was your son born in North Carolina?
Yeah, they were born down here.
Okay. You both these brothers signed the birth certificate, or did you not?
Yes.
No, I did. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay. She signed it, and when she signed over jurisdiction of your children to the state. Unfortunately, I did the same thing. I didn't know any better. And I don't really, the only remedy for that is not to have your children in the hospital. But, that's what both of y'all were experiencing. I think that coming from Wisconsin, that state of North Carolina really didn't have jurisdiction over that child. They had a limited amount of time they were going to be able to hold the child. I'm sure you said it. I apologize. So they eventually had to give them back, and I think that the other brothers experiencing the problem because the state of Carolina does own his child. She signed it over to them at the hospital. Now, Tom, I know because I'm just trying to think of remedies for these brothers. I know brother in Wisconsin has, I can't pronounce your name for some reason, but it's kind of hard. But brother in Wisconsin has his child back, so he's in a good position. I would say from working in a hospital, I've seen children get taken all the time. Usually in a hospital, it's for good reason. I've seen some terrible things happen to children, unfortunately. So that process is terrible. Those workers are, they've seen a lot too. So they have an attitude like, they never know, and they've been trained that way, and it's unfortunate. Tommy, if they were to get the long form birth certificates for their children, with that, do you think that would be like a start to getting a remedy, taking the state's jurisdiction away from them? Do you think that would be one of the things that you've gone through that process? And that's my first question for Tommy, if he thinks that would work.
To be honest with you, I'm not sure. I know for us to be able to take control of our children back from the state, there's going to have to be a change of status, whether it be for you and your child. I'm not sure. I know Brother Jonah Bey talks about taking recertifying or taking control of the long form birth certificate from what you're speaking to, but I'm not 100% sure, brother, but I'm sure that has something to do with it. But Brother Musaddiq, Brother Andre, the status that they are in terms of being 14th Amendment U.S. citizens, a U.S. citizen.
Yeah, I heard the brother kept referring to himself as black. I heard that.
Yeah, a 14th Amendment U.S. citizen is synonymous with a slave or a someone who has given over full authority to a de facto or a paper government. So there's going to have to be a status change for one to be able to take the proper control over their children.
Yeah, absolutely. See, that's the way I'm trying to think. Like, how can we get out of this situation? Because I could easily be put in the same situation. Yeah, I'm sorry, brother.
Okay.
No, I was gonna say, but another problem is too with the court system is even if you go there and you assert your rights, a lot of these judges are going with what these attorneys say, as well as not even knowing what the law really is. They have no problem with violating the law in the courtroom, and then having you in a situation where you got to go try to put an appeal in, and let it go through that system, go through a paper trail even longer. These judges, are criminals as to these lawyers, and the rest of them are. The whole system, the whole system is slated that way, and even every law, the way it's written, is written for them to be able to get around the law. Absolutely,
and I'm not really me and Brother Rio coming from the standpoint that they're not laws in the first place, but that's too
exactly.
deep. That's too deep of a conversation to get into, because then you got to deal with the Uniform Commercial Code, and there's a lot of people who don't understand the Uniform Commercial Code and the reality in which how it's controlling one's life. You got to have a bond to get out of jail. A bond is a commercial instrument, but yet some people, really haven't connected it. So I feel you. I don't believe that you violate, that there are any laws, that they're just statutes and codes. Brother Jenna, what you got to say this evening on the topic, Brother Andre and Brother Musaddiq's experience?
Oh man, I have experienced the same thing. Can you hear me? Okay, greetings to all of the callers, the hosts.
Greetings, brother.
Man,
Peace.
Thank you. Peace to you also. I just wanted to say that I've been in that same predicament. Man, it's not a good feeling. Not across state lines or what have you, but I have been sitting up in those around this area of United States. We call it maximum. Those are the people that handle those particular predicaments, and I have been in those things, and it's hard to deal with, especially when something is going on wrong, and there's nothing that you can do. All you can do is wait. That's a terrifying feeling. It's a terrifying feeling, whether you have sons, daughters, or what have you. What I wanted the question that I wanted to ask is that we're gonna sidestep all of the stuff that people propose to happen. What did y'all brothers do specifically to make these things happen for you to where that you brought those children home? You know, to where you could just hug them and educate them on whatever you was educating them on, and make sure that they was able to know that you was there and that they could rely on you for what was going on next.
Brother Andre, what'd you do?
And I put myself on mute.
Sorry. Yeah, I'm here. So, was that question towards me?
Yeah, go ahead, Brother Andre.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So, one thing I'll say too, going through this process, you know, for a long time dealing with custody, you know, I got more adept with the custody side of these family court laws. Mm-hmm. So when this happened to me, you know, I'm kind of like lost on, you know, what you know, which ways, you know, to go. And they're not really explaining to you how the things are. And let me just kind of backtrack. So when your kids are first removed from you, they have to have a 72-hour hearing in front of a judge. And that hearing is not to say if there was neglect took place or if it didn't take place. It's just to say, well, where the kids are going to be at. Okay? Mm-hmm. Then they have to follow up with a 7-day hearing. That hearing as well is the same thing, or they try to get you to consent to saying, you know, X, Y, Z happened. So now after that is when they actually set a court date for adjudication. So they basically holding your kids without any real legitimate reason, and they have the right to hold them hostage during this time, because until you go to adjudication is when the state has to prove that neglect took place. Mm-hmm. So we're talking about a whole month of playing this game with them, okay? And the crazy thing was, you know, they still know that nothing was neglectful. And one thing I'll say that's part of the saving grace right now is they appointed GAL, which is called, I guess, considered a guardian ad litem for the kids to basically, to be their voice. Well, the GAL from day one said my kids need to go home. And now going through the files more and more and more, the GAL also states that the judge had something against me. They had to axe the ground with me. Okay? Because everything I've been saying from day one is in black and white. And that's why I tell the people all the time. I don't make no accusations. I don't say nothing unless I have documentation to substantiate what I'm saying. Okay? And now, you know, here we are, and the GAL's position is still she wants them to go home. Okay? And again, here we are a month later, they were able to do this. Now, a thing that, you know, now you got me, someone who's actively around their kids, to 1 hour a week that I can spend with my kids. Okay? And let me break it down too, because you know, a lot of it when it comes to senior leadership, you know, the system is geared against us, but the actual caseworker right now who's on the case is a Caucasian lady. She broke down and cried at one of my last visitations. Okay, because she was saying to herself, like, I can't believe this is the job I'm doing, and out of the stuff I see, to see a father who really takes care of their kids, for me to have to say it's time to cut the visit. She broke down in tears. Okay. Wow.
Yeah, I hate. Hold on, Brother Andre. Brother Scotty, I know he's very familiar with the state in which we're dealing with. Brother Scotty, go and bring it with us, brother.
Hey, greetings to you, brothers. I kind of tuned in late, so I don't know if y'all going through a custody battle with one of the exes or the baby mama, or if you're fighting the state. It seems like we got two different stories, two different situations. Are you both in North Carolina?
No, sir.
So, yeah.
Brother Musaddiq, Brother Scotty, Brother
Mm-hmm.
Musaddiq, he's already got his child in this situation, and he really stepped on that, and he's got his baby up in Wisconsin with him. Brother Andre is still in North Carolina, and he's still in the midst of his battle.
With who? The state or with the baby mama?
No, with the state.
Okay.
And Scotty, brother Scotty, you Mecklenburg County?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm in Cabarrus County, so you already know what time it is with the court over here.
I'm in Gaston County. Okay.
Okay.
What
Gaston.
I really called, what I really called in is to give y'all brothers some words of encouragement, and I'm briefly detail my fight, which DSS tried to set me up for abusing my children, even though they knew I hadn't even seen my children in over a year because they was being kept from me in violation of the court order that I had, giving me visitation every other weekend. You know, I was the one who initiated the divorce and custody of my children when my ex-wife, while I was still in the military in Arizona, going through some postpartum depression, hadn't seen her for a month or two, and I got these two small babies. I'm in the military. I'm trying to handle everything. So I took my children to North Carolina and put them in my mom's custody until I could get processed out the military. I ended up getting out 3 months early. Now, the judge there gonna try to say I ain't had no right to take my children to North Carolina, but that's my place of residence. Even though I'm in Arizona, I'm in the military. So any other state had no jurisdiction over me. That stuff about a birth certificate is like ownership papers of the state. That I don't buy that, and I see no evidence of that. Okay, we all get issued birth certificates unless we're going to have children off the radar, and usually when we see children who are born at home who are kept off the radar are going through an abusive type situation. But you brothers be encouraged, because listen, I tried to reconcile with my ex-wife, so she came back to North Carolina with me. But then she gonna leave with the two children. I was like, oh no, I'm filing for a divorce and I want custody of my children. She had a white attorney, and this was a dirty old. I'm gonna try to keep it clean, but I would call her the B word, and I usually don't call women the B word. But this was she had it in for me as a black man. You know what I'm saying? And she was putting my ex all kind of stuff. I mean, they were saying that I was abusing my children and all of that. But see, I went to the law library, even though I had an attorney in the beginning, and I studied up on the local laws and the statutes pertaining to child custody. And I knew that if, like you were saying, and it's good that you documenting everything. I even kept a journal, dog, everything, all my interactions with the mama when, we were supposed to hand off the children, or if I didn't get the children when I was supposed, I documented everything. I kept a journal, and that helped me tremendously in court in terms of credibility. But these allegations that they was making in court against me of abusing my children, I knew from studying is that every allegation has to be signed, okay, by the person making the allegation. I forget what the exact legal term is, but you have to sign, when you make the allegations in the motion, you have to sign an additional paper saying everything stated in here is true, and this is what I'm saying, and then you sign your name. Well, none of the allegations that they were making against me in the motions were signed by her. So I asked the court, well, who's making the allegations? Is the attorney making the allegations? Is DSS making the allegations? Oh, so nobody's making the allegations. You know what I'm saying? So I've been through some dirty tricks with the system, but to make a long story short, I ended up getting the children myself. I had, because her attorney kept filing frivolous motions to run me out of money, because my attorney was expensive, right? So I ended up having to drop this attorney, right? So I started handling it myself, man, and I filed what they call a summary judgment. I was like, look, we've been in here a year. All the documents is in, my allegations is in. She don't have no allegations because she ain't signed the affidavit. Okay, so I want a summary judgment. That kind of shook the judge and it shook her attorney. Because the judge was like, well, I just can't rule on this today, and so I'm gonna need time to go through this and what have you. But you know, at the end of the day, I got my children. I got full custody of my children. They were like 4 and 5 years old. And you're right, you know, when you say that there's nobody out there. Look, as a man, not just a black man, but of course as a black man, but as a man, the system is biased against men when it comes to custody matters.
Yes,
and
sir.
I was lucky enough to have a strong support group with my family, with my mother, with my sister, with my brother, all supporting me emotionally and mentally. Because I was getting very depressed too, bro. That's a hard thing to go through. You know what I'm saying? And I ended up finding a support group for other fathers that was going through the very same thing. So,
Wow.
my faith was very strong. I leaned on my faith, but also on my intelligence and studying the law and making sure I wasn't getting shafted and all through that. But I ended up getting my children, and that was a horrifying situation I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy. So, but I just called in to give y'all some words of encouragement. Don't ever give up. I don't know if y'all are praying people, but I prayed, but I didn't just pray. I put action behind my prayers, and I did what I had to do. So I just want to give y'all some words of encouragement. Y'all ain't the only brothers out there that's going through this or been through this. And many of us.
Yes, sir, Brother Scotty. Go ahead, Musaddiq. And then, Brother Andre, we're going to come back to you to say your final words, and we're going to close it out. But go ahead, Brother Musaddiq.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Hello? Can you hear me?
We can hear you,
Yes,
brother.
sir, we can hear you.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I kind of felt that. I mean, they will try to circle you around with these attorneys and stuff like that. I will agree with that brother on that point, because they tried to do me like that. But you know, it's so expensive going from state to state with an attorney. You know, and I didn't have no knowledge of any attorneys in that area that could help me out. I was looking online, and then I was looking in the phone book, and I was calling some people, but I just was like, well, just let me wait. And I brought my paperwork from Wisconsin with me, and that went a long way. You know, when I showed them that I had joint placement ever since before he was even I think before he was even 18 months, we went into court and we got all that situated. So luckily I did that. And if I hadn't did that, I'd probably be, you know, still trying to get him. Documentation is very important, you know. I brought that documentation from Wisconsin with me, and the rest it went pretty smooth, except for the fact that they didn't give him to me that Friday when I got there. You know, I'm there that Friday. I called the emergency number, and they patched me in, and somebody contacted me Sunday, you know, and he been in y'all custody since Wednesday. That was just frightening to me, you know. But I got around that, and once I did, it was like they like he said, it was some type of hearing that Wednesday that I ended up receiving them. So I guess that must have been the second portion of what this brother was talking about that I fell into, and they gave them to me. And all they basically asked me was, you know, how much do I make, and, you know, am I pretty responsible? Do I have other children? How are they? You know, stuff like that. They were just poking and picking. And the last question they asked me was if I had a car seat. I said, yeah, I got one right outside. And they gave them to me right there in the court, you know, which was a blessing, man, because I was just going out of my mind. I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. I didn't know what to do. You know, I always been around my peoples, you know. I ain't never been around no strange families or anything of that nature. So
right.
For that to happen to my child, no, I couldn't even stomach that, man. I couldn't, oh man, I couldn't even sleep.
Right.
I really couldn't.
I appreciate that, Brother Musaddiq. The family definitely needs to hear this. Brother Andre, we're gonna go ahead and transition. But man, I thank you for coming on and telling your story. Go ahead and give us some closing words, some things you want to share with us about your experience, brother. And I think Brother Scotty's conversation was powerful. Brother Musaddiq's was powerful. There are melanated men who are strong, who love their families, and who are leaders of their family and their children. And no matter what picture they try to paint of us, we know the truth. Go ahead, my brother.
All right. So, yeah, I definitely want to thank you guys for having me on here. And I'm not going to call out the names, but I reached out to a lot of supposed black activists and leaders throughout the country and got nothing but the runaround. And I emailed you guys, and within an hour had a response. So, I definitely appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
Now, when it comes to, I just want to tell, dealing with DSS or just dealing with custody, these lawyers are the worst of the worst. They are liars. So I went through 4 attorneys and blew through my entire 401k. Okay, with the 4 different attorneys I went through. It's all about money. So you gotta, I just want to tell brothers, if you're going to get an attorney, you gotta make sure you interview them. You gotta make sure you let them know that they're working for you. And anything that they file, any type of motion they try to file, before they file it, you need to know what the point of them filing that motion is, and then go on to whatever state you live in. Like over here in North Carolina, nccourts.com or .gov, it will show you all the documents and files. Okay, to let you know exactly what the reasoning behind it is, because it's not hard to type what their emotion, but they know that they trying to make it out to be like it's so difficult what they're doing. Lawyers ain't never trained liars. Okay, and another thing that I found out down the road was, it's, for example, say you and your ex are going through whatever the case is, and you go have a consultation with an attorney. And then she goes and has a consultation with that same attorney. Well, she can't retain that attorney anymore because you already had a consultation. So I tell brothers now is when you're dealing with the custody and you notice that the scale is weighed against you, find out who the best attorneys in your community is, even if you can't afford them, do the consultation. That way you know that you're not going up against them. Because once you do that consultation, they got to run a system check to see if you ever spoke with them. And if your, ex or whoever the case may be is trying to get that same attorney or anyone from that law firm, they can't represent that person. So that's just, just something to look at. But, like everyone said, learning the laws on your own is very important too, because these attorneys will take advantage of you. They will play with your emotions. I actually had an attorney that was a sister who played me after paying her $34,000, and she took me to court for another $32,000. So I had a balance of $32 for her, and the only thing she got me in 3 years of going back and forth to court was my kids. The judge allowed me to get passports for my kids. Now during that time, I was in New York, and my sister-in-law was in her last days of cancer. So basically, I had my card on file for this attorney, where she was just billing and filing motions. But that was me being dumb, dealing with my emotions and dealing with other things going on that led me to even pay her that much money and get nothing out of it. And that one right there was the one that really hit me the hardest, because, that was a sister that played me like that. And another thing I tell people too is anytime you have a court hearing, you could have a hearing today and then the case gets continued even after you guys gave testimony, whatever the case may be. And then you go back to court and the person stated X, Y, Z, and all of a sudden they say they don't remember. The old Oliver North, game. So anytime you have a hearing, right when you leave that hearing, go to the clerk's office and request a transcript. Okay, and they'll give you a audio CD, and there's a website you go to get it encrypted. But then you could go ahead and have it transcribed into black and white documentation
Mm-hmm.
So if you're in court and anyone is saying they didn't say that during the last hearing, no, you have the record of what was stated in court.
Right.
You know, so the court system at the end of the day is nothing but money, and the whole system is set up that way. And then for DSS, whoever they, whatever children they could target to make it easier for them to what I call trafficking,
mm-hmm.
is what they'll do. And if you look at numbers and statistics, typically, don't get me wrong, there's definitely cases where kids need to be removed,
mm-hmm.
and then there's a bad environment.
Mm-hmm.
But those are usually the kids that we see on the news that were killed, and
right.
DSS didn't do their job, right?
Right.
Now, when you look at number-wise, you look at the numbers, records and statistics show that kids are 80% more at risk when removed from their home and put in foster care. 80%. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
More at risk from being displaced from their home to be put in the foster care. So how are you telling me they care about the kids? How are they going to say they care about kids?
Right.
That's a good point.
And they always saying that, especially with us as black people, that we on the system, we on the system. Well, my kids weren't on the system, but then you put them on the system. And that's going to be more money for you guys. So at the end of the day, we all got to keep in mind these terrorists that are working in these facilities, in these certain roles. I don't use that word lightly because, like I said, my wife is a therapist and works for DSS. Okay.
Right.
But she's in a whole different area. But what I'm saying, I will call these people terrorists because they also got to, they also look at it like job security for them. If they're not removing kids, putting them in foster care, what are they there for?
Absolutely.
Why is their job needed? So it's just like the prison system. We're gonna keep the doors moving. We're gonna keep people coming in. We're gonna keep the free labor. And it's the same thing, because you would think that people go into this field, because they care, they want to make a difference. But a lot of them just need to get a job. And another thing is they don't get paid that much, so they overworked, underpaid, and start getting burnt out and bitter, and take it out on the families. And they will try to violate every single right and push you, because another example is my parents. Now, my kids are with my parents. My parents are old school. They're not telling nobody about their finances. They ain't talking about none of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They said you guys can come do a walk through the house, but you're not asking about no finances. I'm not giving you no documentation with no finances. And they said, well, do you need financial assistance? My parents said, I didn't ask you, excuse my language, for shit.
Mm-hmm.
He said, these are my grandkids. I'm fine with them right here. I didn't ask you guys for nothing. I don't want nothing from you.
Right.
And you're not getting any of my financial information. And then they try to say, well, they might have to remove their kids if they don't get that information from my parents. So it's really, it's really frustrating, but it's even more crazy that when you assert your rights and you start calling, people that are on the, higher chain of command of these agencies, that they try to blackball you even more, try to discredit you even more.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I tell brothers, man, you need to have your phone calls recorded. Even if you're on your cell phone, a lot of times the cell phone calls will, someone can kind of tell when you recorded them. Have an old digital recorder or something.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what also kept me straight in a sense with my kid's mother, because I got to the point where I wasn't going to have a conversation with her that wasn't recorded or documented. Because it's easy, again, like I said from earlier, it's very easy to paint the picture as us being, whatever the case may be. Look at them brothers in Starbucks who went to use a bathroom and left it out there locked up. So it's very easy to manipulate the narrative and paint us to be the aggressor,
mm-hmm.
or the, whatever you want to call it. So definitely always got to protect yourself to the 15th power, and every angle you got to cover yourself like a game of chess.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Hey, like I said, and brother, man, proud of you, brothers, man. Oh, we got another question. Where we at? Go ahead, wireless caller. Go ahead.
It's just a small question. You all them attorneys you hired, were you able to get your money back after you fired them?
Nah, bro. Not at all. And to be all,
Hey,
to be
I always
honest with
wanted
you,
to know that though.
no, and to be honest with you, I'm in a tight financial situation now.
Mm-hmm.
So like when you said how they try to drain you, that's exactly what the quote
That's
does.
why I asked. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And
okay.
I had wanted to. Huh?
That was my question. That was all. I'm beautiful line.
Yeah. All right.
Oh man.
Yes, sir. Man, that's like I said. I'm proud of you, brothers. I mean, you brothers, you and Musaddiq and brothers who fight for their children. I'm proud of you, brothers, because I know the role that melanated fathers have played over the years in trying to do the best they can by their children and being misclassified by this system as being something other than loving, caring, kind people. I appreciate what my father did for me in terms of raising our family and providing for us and doing the best that he could. And to see brothers like you guys willing to go all out for your children, you know what I'm saying, man? Hey, that's much love, much respect. That's really my bottom line. You feel me, Brother Rio?
I do, and I'm kind of on the underside of the fence. My biological, he really didn't bother too much with me, but I did have a stepfather who stepped up, and he stepped in when I was about 9 years old, and he was very good to me and my mom. So I definitely appreciate him, but there's nothing like the feeling that your biological is stepping up and takes an interest and takes a care in you, because even though I did have a loving and supporting stepfather, I still went looking for the affection, the attention, and of course some answers from my biological, and it left a void in my life for quite a spell. I have our challenges to overcome, but that only makes me more desirable to be a better biological father, and allows me to celebrate achievements and just the sheer tenacity of brothers such as yourselves, who go through and go beyond the system for the sake of having a significant role in their children's lives. So shout out to Brother Scotty, of course you, Brother Andre, and Brother Mastique. You guys are doing some things right, and it will be rewarded. It's nowhere else in the lives of your children, so it will be greatly appreciated.
Yes, sir. Hey, much love, Brother Andre. I appreciate you sharing your story with us, brother.
Appreciate it. All right, appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Peace. Brother Rio, we're going to take a quick break because we got to do station identification and let the family know that we are definitely on the Black Talk Radio Network, and we need to continue to support this network. So we're going to do a quick station identification, and then we're going to continue the slide. Welcome back, everyone, to the Melanated Roots Radio Show. Brother Rio, real powerful testimony. We've been having shows and trying to tell people the level of control that this system will exert over people who are in a certain status. We've been letting people know that this 14th Amendment U.S. citizen is not what is cracked up to be, that it is synonymous with a slave status. And when somebody takes control of your children, I think people will open their eyes and recognize the type of system that they're living under at that point. How do you feel about that, Brother Rio?
I agree with you 100%, brother. And, I got some information to read into the record quickly, that relates to the information and, parallels the experiences that these brothers kind of went through. But it kind of explains, where we're at and how the powers that be are assuming certain things to kind of put us in this position and, put pressure on us as if they have the authority to be able to, just step in and, parent your child the way they see fit, not according to what you think is best for your child or by cultural norms or, anything of that nature. So I'm going to start in the middle of this.
Mm-hmm.
So relevancy of it, comes to light along with what was this earlier. Because he went on to explain that every contract must have consideration. The state offers consideration in the form of the actual license itself. And as we all know, if we look up license, license is pretty much a permission to do something.
Absolutely.
You're asking permission from a particular kind of authority to be able to do something. So the state offers consideration in the form of the actual license itself, the piece of paper, the certificate of marriage. The other part of consideration by the state is the privilege to be regulated by statute. Now, Brother Tommy, once you start to study trust law, then that particular information, it really becomes crystal clear. The other part of consideration by the state is the privilege to be regulated by statute. What the state is really doing is they're setting up a trust.
Right.
Where they are the creator, and they appoint the mother and the father as the trustees. And the states are also the beneficiaries. They can also assume the role of co-trustee if they so choose. But being the creator of the trust, they get to set the parameters of the trust document or the indenture. So they set the rules and the regulations that the trust has to abide by. And once you understand that part, when it says that the other part of consideration by the state is the privilege to be regulated by statute, all they're saying is that this trust is going to be regulated by whatever statutes, municipalities, or rules that they want to impose on the trustees, and how the res or the corpus in the trust is supposed to be regulated.
Right.
So that is one way that they are assuming they have control over your children. So he added that this privilege to be regulated by statute includes all related statutes and all court cases as they are ruled on by the courts, and all statutes and regulations into the future in the years following the commencement of the marriage. He said, in a way, the marriage license contract is a dynamic or flexible, ever-changing contract as time goes along, even though the husband and wife didn't realize that. Now, we were talking about remedy. It could be considered not really a true contract, as one becomes aware of the failure by the state to make full disclosure of the terms and conditions. A contract must be entered into knowingly, intelligently, and intentionally. Otherwise, technically, there is no contract. But if there is no rebuttal, then the contract stands as law.
Yes, it does.
So if you do not deny it, even though it may not be a valid contract, the contract stands as valid and as law until it is denied.
Yes, sir. Brother Real, let me follow up with what you said about a trust. Now, let me read this quick information. It says the Vatican government was created by the Catholic Church at the height of its power, with the Pope as a sovereign. The Vatican is an ultra-sovereign canon law trust from which property and assets are granted to papal favorites in exchange for loyalty. A canon law trust served as the basis for most democratic and parliamentary governments formed in the New World, including the Mayflower Compact, the Commonwealth, and the Constitution for the United States. So they're telling you that this is a trust. And the first trust that they created for us individuals is based upon our birth certificate. See, one thing, Brother Rio, we have to understand, you can't get out of slavery, or you can't get from underneath someone's thumb if you don't understand how they got you in that situation. And we have a lack of understanding what they have done to put us in a certain position. So if you don't understand it, then how can you fight it? How can you reverse it if you don't understand it? So we have to first understand our conditioning. We have to first understand our situation in this country. We have some immigrants that came over here and set up shop and created a de facto government that is paper and is not true. It is only real if you recognize it as so. And they have and they have created schemes after schemes to put us into a particular situation. There was a point in time where there were no birth certificates. There were none. Then there was a point in time that they were, and each and every one of us was registered, and a bond was created. If we don't understand the game, we can't beat it. Go ahead, Brother Rio.
Also, Brother Tommy, to continue on with your point, once you can keep that in your mind, you also see the poor state of the educational system today and why they really don't want to get you enlightened. They want to keep you educated enough so that you're trainable to be able to expend your energy to continue the system that is oppressing you. But they don't want you to get too smart to be able to think outside the system or not be able to lead them and operate independently. But, that is getting into public versus private, which I'm going to go to in just a few minutes. Did you have anything else you want to say? Because there's some more I wanted to read into the record.
No, brother, you coming with it. I'm just saying we have to start opening our eyes and look at the situation in which we are dealing with. You know what I'm saying? Me and Brother Jerry really had a good conversation because we were talking about Uniform Commercial Code and whether it was just a recommendation by private business owners. And I said to Brother Jerry that, man, we're not dealing with no laws. You're dealing with codes and statutes. And then he was like, I never looked at it that way. I said, brother, if you've ever been to jail, what do they use to hold you with? They use a bond.
Penal code.
They use a bond, which is a commercial instrument. If they want to remove your property from you or foreclose on your house, what do they use? A lien, which is a commercial instrument. So we have to understand we're not dealing with no laws. They don't have no just laws on the books. Brothers and sisters are spending 40 and 50 years of their life in prison because of violating statutes and codes. Man, it's time that the only way we're going to get out of this situation is if we see it for what it is. And if you don't see it for what it is, then it's going to continue.
Yes, sir. Well said, Brother Simon, because it does always come down to a bond, and a bond is nothing but what's the term? Example of a debt.
Yes.
And that debt can be liened upon. Mm-hmm. And basically in layman terms, all that means is that you owe somebody. And when you owe somebody and they come looking for payment, if you ain't got it in your pocket, they coming to get it out your ass.
Right. Period.
Yeah.
Period.
And the creation as well as the regulation of these bonds is not governed by the Constitution. Constitution don't deal with none of that.
Exactly.
It's governed by the UCC.
Absolutely.
And
Brother Rio,
it's not a recommendation.
Right, exactly.
And these UCC codes have been codified into state laws
and accepted,
to become uniform.
Absolutely. And Brother Rio, that's why when you see brothers who are supposed to be sovereign citizens going to the court trying to invoke the Constitution and the judge is shooting them down, because there's a difference, like you about to get into, brother, between public and private. And the judge saying, hey, that's public. That don't play in here. See, but that's the difference. Exactly. People don't understand the difference and they're confused. And that confusion is allowing people to stay in a mindset that won't lead towards us getting towards the solutions. As opposed to seeing
about these contracts.
Yeah.
Right.
Go ahead.
If we ain't talking about these contracts, buddy, nah.
We don't want to hear it.
What'd you say, brother?
We don't want to hear it. You in the wrong venue.
Right. Exactly. So it goes on to say another way to look at the marriage license contract with the state is as a contract of adhesion, a contract between two disparate, unequal parties, again, a flawed contract, but still a contract. Such a contract with the state is said to be a specific performance contract as to the privileges, duties, and responsibilities that attach. So when you enter into this contract, whether you know ignorance of the law is no excuse.
None.
So when you enter this license contract, you are expected to form duties and responsibilities for privileges of which the state gives to you. Consideration on the part of the husband and wife is the actual fee paid and the implied agreement to be subject to the state's statutes, rules, and regulations, and all court cases ruled on related to marriage law, family law, children, and property.
Absolutely.
He emphasized that this contractual consideration by the bride and groom places them in a definite and defined by law position inferior and subject to the state. He commented that very few people realize this. Now, it's interesting, Brother Tommy, because, they're talking about the state and the people's relationship to the state, but marriage law, family law, and especially when you're dealing with children and property, when it pertains to law or common law, we know that is private.
Absolutely.
That is private law. Whereas when you're talking about these contracts, they're pulling you into the public side, which is statutes, codes, and all these municipalities and rules that everybody is contracting into being regulated by. This is how you're being pulled into, this is another way I should say, you're being pulled into the public side and not operating on the private side, which is where we're supposed to be.
Absolutely. Hold on, Brother Rio. I like the way you dropping. Brother JR about to bring some fire this evening.
I can't hear y'all right now, man. The line is dead.
What, the line is dead? Brother Jerry. Brother JR, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you perfectly.
Okay, go ahead, Brother JR. How you doing this evening, my brother?
Pretty good, bro. Pretty good. Good to hear everybody sharing and everything. It's really good to hear.
Yes, sir.
I just, me, and I'm one thing about me and that dead horse, I mean, I'm going to beat it until it's gone. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to stop beating the same dead horse, because here's one thing, it's like, where do we go from here? I noticed that there are, and I'm going to use an analogy. You know who are the dumbest Republicans? Poor Republicans who have Trump stickers on their car. It's like you want to be a part of it, but you can't, because economically you're not. But I'll use your vote. You know what I'm saying? And you walk around shouting Trump, but he doesn't respect you because you're not what? An elitist. You're a part of the racial class, yes, but you're not a part of the socio-economic class. Okay, I'm an elitist. You're a poor white piece of trash. I appreciate your vote and all of your, whatever you're doing, your energy, but I can't help you do anything. So with black people, no disrespect to us, we're starting to get a lot more information now than ever. And I think the higher ups are okay with us having it because it's hyper individualized. Everybody knows something, and it's great information. I love it. I mean, it tickles the brain, but I mean, we only remember 10% of it. And then if we only remember 10% of it and we don't have a plan to execute the information in action, then it's really just great information, and I love great information. But, since we had our last meeting, I've, on top of, naturally I got the business for, that I do my 9 to 5, but I also got the little vape business, and I'm working on that, and everybody has the moisturizer. I got the shea butter business, but now I'm working with a record label here in Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy that owns the record label also owns a what do you call it? An auction, a car auction.
Mm-hmm.
He's got $1 million facility. Okay, he's got $1 million facility, and he's looking for people like me who are willing to execute some of his money to do something to help him make more money. And I don't even want to earn money to do it because I want access. Mm-hmm. I want to metastasize the ability to make change economically. It doesn't make a difference how much information you know about birth certificates or not birth certificates. I'm not knocking that.
Mm-hmm.
People that want to believe in sovereignty and all that, that's great information. But the people that really make the moves have money. And it's about amassing as many white people that are dead on bills that have worth as you possibly can before your heart stops beating. And to connect with other people that believe in that vision, and to also metastasize more wealth. It does not make a difference about anything else we talk about. I swear to you, I promise you, anything else we talk about is not going to do anything for anybody until all of us come together in some way, shape, or form, and we organize economically. Economic organization with us is everything. Tapping into the vocations, skills, proclivities, and natural abilities that we all have is the only way out. Find that in organized effort and optimize it 23 hours a day. You know, just take a gun and kill yourself. I know that sounds negative. I'm not trying to be I'm just trying to help us understand that we could talk to we're blue in the face about information. It won't change anything. What changes is economic organization. We just bought this building. Now that we bought this building, we're facilitating a service to the masses that is in demand. Now that we have that, now we're moving over here to do this and do that with that money. Now that we've got another service in demand that people are buying from, now we just bought this building from these white people and made them leave. It's like you got to have capital or some type of machine or mechanism that earns capital to earn your place at the table. Does anybody feel that what I'm saying, help me out, because I'm going mad.
Let me respond to you, brother JR. I'm in full agreement with you that we have to come together and we have to work together for economic solutions that will help us to be competitive and raise our people out of poverty, and then we can change their mindsets. But back to the conversation about understanding the situation that we're in so that we can change it. Because if we as a people put forth all our effort and energy into Federal Reserve notes, we will continue to be in the same place because we have a lack of.
They're just gonna change the game.
No, not even that, brother Rio. We have a lack of understanding of what a Federal Reserve note is, and all it is a debt note. Now, if we have the ability to get as many Federal Reserve notes and change them over into assets like brother Dave talks about all the time, at that point we cooking with grease. But if we are just as a people out chasing Federal Reserve notes, that's exactly what the European wants us to do, because he has taught us to believe that Federal Reserve notes is money, when Federal Reserve notes are not money. Resources are money, and the people who have resources are the people who have control. Bill Gates, all these white people who have money who have power, they don't have power because they got 1 billion Federal Reserve notes. They have power because they command resources. So we as black people or melanated people have to educate ourselves about the difference between the two. Because if we continue to go after this dollar, this Federal Reserve note dollar like we are, cream, cash rules everything around me, it will keep us in the same situation that we are in. You know, like I know, brother JR, that black people in this country are generating so-called millions and trillions of dollars in Federal Reserve notes, but look at the condition we are in. Go ahead, my brother.
Well, what I see is it's not, and I respect you on what we're defining, what is money,
yes,
right?
Sir.
Like
yes, sir.
we're defining it as the Federal Reserve note.
Mm-hmm.
And I did hear the brother interject and say something that does make sense. As soon as we start to get it, they'll change the game. But here's the thing that I'm speaking about. I'm not talking about amassing paper.
Okay.
I'm talking about, and I said it, I thought I said it clearly, there's a means to an end,
Mm-hmm.
right? The Federal Reserve note right now, and has been ever since all of us have been alive,
Mm-hmm.
has been the popular means to an economic net worth, like you're talking about. What Bill Gates has, what Steve Jobs had, what Warren Buffett has, so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in other words, I can have 5,000 Federal Reserve notes, and with this auction guy, I can get a $30,000 car.
Understood.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
but he got the car for $2,500. It's not about the Federal Reserve note. It's about what it gets me to be able to use as a vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
So, but really, the vehicle is the main focus, right? So that's what I'm really talking about. I'm not talking about amassing cash money and putting it under our mattresses.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the black people in the organization who see that it's under the mattress will probably come and steal it.
Right.
You know, to go and do something with it. I'm trying to say, like I said, tapping into your proclivities, your vocations, the natural things that you have in you that are there that money can't buy. But it's wealth. You see what I'm saying? Like, how can we come together to temporarily use this means to get to the end?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Brother Jay.
I feel you, Brother Jay. JR, I feel you. I like that exchange. I'm passionate too, my brother. Go ahead, Brother Rio.
Mm-hmm. Brother Jay, if I'm hearing you correctly, and I'm going to elaborate so you can tell me if I am, what I hear from you is an emphasis on self-determination and being able to manifest the things that we deem important and necessary to be successful by our own definition within our own community. Would I be correct in kind of summing up what you're saying with that statement?
If you replace the word self with group, then you got me right.
Feel you.
Okay, and that's what I mean. Well, but in order to have a group, it has to start with self. And this is my fear. And you very well articulated it when you had your second exchange with Brother Tommy. That cleared up a lot. But from your first explanation, my fear is that our people are already under a spell, and they are already hindered by so many hurdles that most of the people want the same system. They just want to be on top, which equates to making more money and being able to be the decision makers within the same system, which to me, I don't think is beneficial.
But hold on, if I may.
Yes, sir.
I don't know where that last part came from, because that last part is irrelevant to what I'm talking about. Because what I'm talking about is helping the group. Okay. What I am talking about is, for instance, the reason why I'm not in ministry in church anymore is because for 20 years, every church that I've worked at, that I've worked with, every pastor that I've worked with has done what you just said. He wanted to have control. Where me as a leader, I said, I feel we should tap into each and every person one by one and exhaust all of the natural resources that they have so that they can be self-sufficient and then continue that process. That's what David did with his mighty men. He had a bunch of hurt men that were struggling in different areas, and one by one, he understood this guy is good at making swords, so we'll get him a job as the sword maker. This guy's good at making shields, so we'll make him the shield maker. Do you see that we're going individually? They're two different gifts. Everybody doesn't have the same, but the focus is on building each individual brick so that we have a powerful foundation so that when we erect an edifice, it will not break down because every single person is self-sufficient because we tapped into what they could do naturally that is an in-demand proclivity that could generate money so that they could do for themselves. Now they do for the group. Now the group is strong. Where do we miss that? How am I being misinterpreted?
You're not.
Brother,
go ahead.
Brother, yeah, I'm sorry. Let me get that, brother, because it was directed at me. Brother Jay, I wasn't putting words in your mouth. I was interjecting that. I said that is my fear that the state of our community, when most people think about making a change, what they want to do is they want to make more Federal Reserve notes to replace the people who are in power now operating under the same system. So all they want to do is flip-flop their position, not embodying.
I respect your thing.
Hold on, brother. Let me finish. Let me finish.
All right.
Not embodying what it is that you are talking about, because they haven't had the ability to interact with the information in such a way as they understand how the system was pressed upon them, and not being able to kind of measure that against the way our ancestors would have us operate for the benefit of our own community, and then taking the both of both worlds and we making whatever it is we can make of it. Most of the people are separated from the teachings of our ancestors, are the psychotic teachings of which we have been suppressed and oppressed and fed to media-wise and TV, through schools, through lies and the court systems or what have you. Most of our people are not in a state of mind to be able to build on the level that you're talking about. They're just not going to jump up there automatically.
I don't agree. I don't believe that.
And you're well within your rights to agree. But, it's different approaches for different people. So on this particular platform that we have right here, we're talking to people who are raising themselves up. They may not necessarily be at the level of building of which you are talking about. Now, me, you, and Brother Tommy, we can definitely get down with you, and as well as some of our other family members here. We can definitely get down and we can build on that higher level. In my opinion, us as a general community, not enough of us are there yet. And they need this, if you want to call it milk, until they get to the meat. Then, that's what we're here to provide.
Right. Well, let me ask you a question, because what you did, you raised a great point that it seems like you're thinking that I'm at some high level. And I'm not at a high level. I'm at a base level. Mm-hmm. And when I say base level, yes, I do believe in group economics. Mm-hmm. But people that go to church agree in group economics too. They just give their economic money to one source, who then keeps the money. That we are well trained in group economics. We go to church. There's a black church everywhere. Mm-hmm. There's a Muslim church everywhere. We are well versed in the milk. And I'm only talking about the milk. I'm only talking about, hey, all of us in this group, all of us have a gift, right? I make shea butter. Everybody in here needs to moisturize, okay? Not that you have to get it from me. I could teach you how to make it for yourself so you can go and be self-sufficient if that's what your passion is. Whatever a person's natural gifts are, just a couple of questions. Hey, what do you like to do? What would you do if money wasn't an issue? I'd sew. Oh, you'd sew? Okay. Have you ever used a sewing machine? Well, I want to get one, but, we'll help you get it. Now you're making clothes. Guess what? You can sell those clothes and make money. Why is this it's not rocket science. It's practical, daily love, care for the person by helping them find out what it is they can do to become self-sufficient and help them move along the way. And I will give money towards that. You tell me what it is, I'll give you $100 towards it, $200, $500, $1,000. I will come out of my pocket to give you the money you need to help you to become who you need to become. And then you give a little bit to that person, and you give a little bit. Now that person's got their business started up and running. Now we go to another person. And that's called group economics. I don't know why. Well, that's not too hard.
I agree with you, brother. And in principle, that is where we have to get. That is where we have to get to. My only thing is, most people aren't ready for that, brother, because most people aren't doing it.
But listen, Brother Rio, I feel where you're coming from, and I feel where JR is coming from, but I don't think we should say most people aren't ready for that, because, you know, that's a self-fulfilling prophecy within itself. The bottom line is that is where we need to get to, in terms of becoming economically viable and merging and working together as a group. We come together and we build each other up along the way, and we help this brother to invest in this restaurant and get it going for the benefit of the community and the family. Then we help this brother to get his real estate business up and going for the benefit of the community and family, because if there's a house that's going to be sold in our neighborhood, it needs to be sold by one of us. And then we turn towards the next business and the next business. So I think you guys have, I think you both have excellent points, and, economic understanding is a must-have. It is a must-have, but this was the point that I was making. We, as a melanated people, are in a particular type of situation in this country, and it's like an algorithm, or it's like a riddle. You cannot get out of the situation until you solve the riddle, and there is still education and uplifting and the spreading of information that is going to have to occur for that to happen. And let me give you an example. Brother L.A. Ramon and Brother Thomas, they'll clean you up when it comes to technocracy, because technocracy is a technology that is being used against us as a people. And if we don't understand how they're using it against us, then we can't beat it. Economics is being used against us. If we don't understand economics, that it's really not about Federal Reserve note, that it's about resources, then we can't reverse our situation.
Tommy, we cannot hear you. I don't know if your mic went out.
My mic's not hot. My mic's not hot. My mic's not hot.
All right, we'll just come back. That you, Brother Tommy? All right, we'll just come back in whenever you get your mic situated. Okay. Brother Thomas, I see you have your hand up. What would you like to? You'd like to add something to the conversation, brother?
Yeah, man. Definitely. The brother, he's definitely talking some good things, and
yeah, he ain't giving himself enough credit.
And he's his plan. It sounds great. The only thing that I would say, there's a gentleman by the name of Neely Fuller who defines the system that we're all living in as the system of racism, white supremacy, and he puts it in 9 areas. And the brother Roz added another area, the economics, education, entertainment, health, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. Economics is just one of the areas they're dominating us in. We could all get rich tomorrow and be in court tomorrow too. They have a total system against us. So that's just one of the areas we need to focus on. But to say it's the only area, that's all we need to do. I think that the situation that we're in is we're in a much more grave situation than just to get some money and sit at the table with them. They have a system set up where it's all hands on deck against that. So we have to defeat the total system, not just the economic aspect. However, that would make doing other things easier, but it's a total system against us that we got to focus on the broader thing, not just one area.
Thank you, brother. Brother Tommy, have you returned yet?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
I've been listening though. Go ahead, brother.
Did you want to go ahead with your comment?
Yeah, I was just saying that and I think Brother Thomas really just cleaned the game up right there. That is the total system, man. And I'm telling you, man, I'm feeling Brother JR, because the reality, if we had more brothers that was as passionate as he was in terms of us having group economics, then we would be in a totally different position. And then you bring additional information to the table to where we're able to say, okay, well, now we understand. We got this group economics and we got this energy moving. Now we understand what this Federal Reserve note really is. Let's move it towards resources and industry and towards things that are really build us up. So I'm feeling him. You know, I'm really at a point where I'm feeling him. I'm loving the energy, and I ain't got nothing to say against it at all. It's exactly the way we need to be thinking. Just bring that group economics energy and we'll figure out what to do. We'll figure out what the best way to move forward is. Let's just bring that energy in the first place.
Agreed. And Brother Jay, it's just a dialogue for me, and steel sharpens steel. I ain't saying nothing against what you're saying, and I'm actually vibing with you. I believe that there are going to be many prongs to speak to that we have to build on. And everybody's not going to be on the same level. So we have to plan for, as you said, people need to get in where they fit in. So once we learn how to take advantage of everybody's talent, then we're going to be that much better and we're going to be that much stronger. So it's just like the hand closing up into a fist. So united, we're going to be able to knock down a whole lot of shit.
Absolutely.
So,
amen. Amen.
Yes,
I appreciate sharing with you, brothers, and I appreciate y'all having this call, and I love it. And I hope to definitely sit down and, I appreciate the call today that I got from Brother Mario calling me up. And
Brother JR, we also want to invite you, the other brothers who are in the Atlanta area, Brother Rob, Brother VP, Mario, myself, Brother Jenna ain't but right up the road. We're going to start getting together on a consistent basis, talking about preparation things in case in the event of anything happening. We also talking about economics, ways in which we can come together and try to build and grow something, get access to land, grow food, bring different business ventures to the table. So we would hope that you would be able to join us as well, and we will put you up on when the next one is going to be, but we would definitely like to see you there as well.
Yes, definitely. I'm in Norcross, so I'm definitely open to it, and whatever I can do economically to put money towards it and time where I can, I definitely will. I'm open to that. I want to see it happen.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you. Brother Rio, Melanated Roots, Monday, 8 to 10. Go ahead and say your closing remarks. I'm going to drop mine, and then we're going to get on up out of here, bro, and bring it again next week.
Well, brother, if we ain't got nothing after us, I need about 5 minutes to, still put some stuff on the record so the people can research it and get more thorough, because as the brother said, people hear it, they can't absorb it all, but this show is being recorded, so they have a way to and research it at a later date.
Do what you got to do, my brother.
Oh, that's what I'm talking about. My brother Tom. All right. Continuing on with the reading, consideration on the part of the husband and wife is the actual fee paid and implied agreement to be subject to the state statutes, rules, and regulations, and all court cases rule on related to marriage law, family law, children, and property. He emphasized that this contractual consideration by the bride group places them in a definite and defined by law position inferior and subject to the state. He commented that very few people realize this. He also said that it is very important to understand that children born to the marriage are considered by law as the contract bearing fruit, meaning the children primarily belong to the state, even though the law never comes out and says so in so many words. In this regard, children born to the contract regarded as the contract bearing fruit. He said it is vitally important for parents to understand two doctrines that became established in the United States during the 1930s. The first is the doctrine of Parentis. The second is the doctrine of in loco parentis, of which the definitions you read before, brother. So I'm not going to go into that at this particular time. But what I will do is I want to read an excerpt. This is from an Illinois case, Carolyn A. West and John W. West versus Ginger West. And during this case, the judges gave their dissent and, their explanations. And one particular interesting point, it comes where it says, Ginger begins her argument with the discussion of the long-recognized constitutionally protected interest of parents to raise their children without undue state influence. And they give a list of cases that you can look up. Meyer versus Nebraska, and Prince versus Massachusetts, and, and other ones that you can look up if you look into the document. But it continues and it says, however, this constitutionally protected, Brother Tommy, this constitutionally protected parental interest is not wholly without limit or beyond regulation. And this court case is Prince versus the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, where it says the state has a wide range of power for limiting parental freedom and authority in things affecting the child's welfare. In fact, the entire familial relationship involves the state. When two people decide to get married, they are required to first procure a license from the state. If they have children of this marriage, they are required by the state to submit their children to certain things, such as school attendance and vaccination. Furthermore, if at some time in the future the couple decides the marriage is not working, they must petition the state for a divorce. Marriage is a three-party contract between the man, the woman, and the state. The state represents the public interest in the institution of marriage. The public interest is what allows the state to intervene in certain situations to protect the interest of members of the family. The state is like a silent partner in the family who is not active in the everyday running of the family, but becomes active and exercises its power and authority only when necessary to protect some important interest of family life. I just thought that was very interesting, Brother Tommy. And, the family can look up, different cases. Now, this was in the state of Illinois, but, all states are going to have similar statutes for the sake of uniformity. And I'm pretty sure that people can find evidence of similar case rulings in their own state. This is pretty much their justification, and as well as we can see how they pull family law, which is supposed to be on the private side, into the public sector to where they can have all power and influence and have the people, being the mother and the father, subject under the state. What you think about that, brother?
It just basically brings home what we've been saying. Like I said, I think we're dealing with, in the conscious community, a lot of brothers want to talk, but don't nobody want to listen. Even when the information is being put on the table, I think we all need to recognize we have 2 ears and 1 mouth and listen twice as much as we talk. And then we can consume some information that hopefully can change our spirit and we can change our situation. In local Parentis, Parents Patria, people need to look it up. They are taking control of the family breaking down the family, taking control of the children, and they're doing it due to these adhesion contracts we have signed and the statuses that we are all in as 14th Amendment U.S. citizens, which is synonymous with an economic slave. And if people don't want to wake up to that, that's the problem. You can't get out of this predicament if you don't understand it. There's a reason why they put that child's footprint on that birth certificate. There's a reason, because they created a bond, and that bond is a trust, and it's controlling your life even to this day. If you can't understand that, then you can't change the predicament that you're in.
That's well said, Brother Tommy. Well said.
Yes, sir. Brother Rio, before you go out, I want to say peace to Brother Andre. Definitely appreciate him for sharing his story. Brother Musaddiq, Brother Scotty shared his story as well. To the strong black melanated fathers, I want to send out much love, much respect, because the sisters, they've been holding it down. We know for a fact that sisters have been holding it down, loving and nurturing our babies, not always in a melanated sense the way they should, but they've been keeping it real when it comes to that. And they tried to make it seem like black men haven't, although there's a lot who've been caught up in the system that hasn't. But black men and melanated men love their children and love their family, and we're going to give recognition and appreciation and love and respect for that tonight. Tommy Jordan, I'm out. melanatedroots9@gmail.com. It's on you, Brother Rio.
Well, bro, you just left the mic smoking on that one. I can't follow up with nothing behind that. I echo those sentiments. And, you know, as always, I implore the family to take care of yourself and take care of each other, and so that we can build together. Until next Monday, we're going to be here from 8 to 10. Peace, peace.
Peace, peace.
Have a good week.